Hello, so today we're going to be setting up just the buckets, not the water or the nutrients, and just describing how you may be able to build your own if you want to, but why I choose not to and why I just buy the system complete. So just to start, what it comes with, this is the 8-bucket system. So we got 8 net pots, 8 buckets all pre-drilled, and they come with the elbow joints, a foot long of 1/2-inch tube, and I can't find that piece individually. And then it comes with all the little hoses cut. I'm not sure the exact measurement, but I'll put the measurement on the screen of these hoses if you want to buy them individually, and I'll talk about again why I don't. So it comes with all these, and then the pump. So this is about a $65, $70 pump. Again, prices can range, but this can go for anywhere between like $180 to $200 for this kit. So I like the 8-bucket setup because you get more bang for your buck. So these are, like I said, I got these for around $180 for the 8-bucket system. The pump alone is a $65 value, but again, if you did want to build it on your own, I have a list of some of the parts and kind of what they cost. And I went to go build them on my own when I first started, but it ended up just being cheaper to buy it completely built, and it was just simpler and saved a lot of time. So they're food grade black plastic buckets so that no light gets in, so no algae forms. That's why I specifically like them black. So they're not like a Home Depot bucket, where a Home Depot bucket isn't food grade and they're orange, and they probably let more light in than black, and they're not food grade, but they're around $5 a bucket if you were to get those, where a black food grade bucket is around $10 for one bucket. So just in 8 buckets would be $80 just in the buckets. And the net pots, the 8 net pots that come with it, individually I find them for $10 a piece. I have found sets of them of like 3, but those are like $48, which is more than $10 a piece. So if they were $10 per net pot, that'd be $80 just for the net pots. So we're already at $160 just in buckets and net pots, and then the pump for $65. So we're already over the value. So at that point, it doesn't really make much sense to make them myself. But let's say you don't want the 8. The 1 bucket system is actually the most expensive. It's around $58 to $60. And it comes with a little 1 pump and just a 1 bucket, but it gets more bang for your buck the more you get. So the 4 pump system, and I don't like discussing prices too much because they change, and but the 4 bucket system is around $100, and it's just to give you an idea of how much it costs. But you get so much more bang for your buck when you go to the 4 bucket system, from like $58, $60 to the $100 for 4. So with the 4 bucket system, that pump alone is $35. And then again, the 4 buckets would be $40 just for the buckets and $40 just for the net pot. So we're at $80 plus the $35 for the pump. Again, it makes more sense just to buy the complete system, food grade, already set up. You don't have to drill any holes. And then, but regardless, I did try to build my own when I first started to set it up. So we'll just go through everything in this just so you can get an idea of how you may want to build your own and just what goes into it and what's occurring, since I got a lot of questions just about the buckets. So this is 100 feet of 1/2-inch blue rubber hose. We want it as dark as we can so light doesn't get in, because this is the one part of the bucket where there may be some light getting into the bucket, as you can see right here. Light is going to touch this. So the darker this, the better. You could get a black hose. I found a 15-foot 1/2-inch black hose for around $15, I think that says. And you just won't be able to see the water level with a black hose, so that's good because it won't let light in. But it's tough to find blue hose. You can find white hose, but that will let light in a lot too. So with black, you can't really see the water level when you take the air pump out, and white lets too much light in, so I went with blue. And I got 100 feet of it because each bucket uses about 1 foot of hose. So I'll have plenty of hose left over, but for my watering, I like to use one of the spare buckets to water with. You don't have to use one of the spare buckets, but I just have some left over. And I cut an extendo hose so I'm able to water my plants all around with just one hose. So this is probably like 5-6 feet of hose that I wrap up around here. So that's why I like having the additional hose, but in the past I used to just use the one it came with and flip it down. So that's not including the price of these little pieces, which I couldn't find these little 1/2-inch like pieces that fit the black tubing in them. So I can't help you there, but I'll list everything down below as much as possible and try to write as much word as I can. But you can get a 1-pump system. This is an 8-pump. These are about $10, and they come with an air stone and a little hose. And now you could just drill a hole in the top of your net pot. Let's see if I can pull the bucket out first try. Yep. So you could just drill a hole. Let's say you didn't have, like, you know, this hole drilled in the bottom and you just had a bucket. You could drill a hole in the top here and put this little hose down in there connected to your air pump with a little air stone down on it. And that'll work just as well too. If you wanted to do it that way and kind of like cut corners a little bit, it's just as effective. That is the air stone. So I've grown like that in the past, but the roots get all caught in the air stone, and it's just a pain to, when you recycle the plant and the plant's like no longer alive and you want a new plant in the bucket, it's just easier with this sort of system because there's no air stone. So the air gets pumped directly into the bottom of the bucket through that hole. So when we set one up, we already got the elbow joint and that little piece in there, and they put the 1/2-inch grommet in there. So I also bought some elbow joints of my own and some grommets of my own, and those elbow joints were $8 for a pack of, I think, like 10, and then the grommets were, I don't think I have it written down, but they were about $10 for all these grommets. If I word anything wrong, I'll fix it with text on the screen because I'll go back and edit it. But we just shove it through. And then they also have this little hole up top for the clip they come with. I also couldn't find these clips and how much they cost either. Like I said, at a certain point, I was just like, this is more of a headache just to build them than to buy them, so I'd rather just buy them. And if I have some buckets left over, I have some buckets left over, just because it's more bang for your buck. But then it just clips right in there conveniently. Already comes with a pre-cut hose. And I like these ones because they're nice and like floppy. But the ones I bought were really stiff. I didn't like that for like moving around the garden and stuff. So again, they come with like a really nice hose. I like to cut the hose on the tip so that it goes in there a little better. This is a little trick. So you can do these sort of things with one hand, because it's annoying when you try to go put it in there sometimes and it doesn't slide right in nice. When you cut it on an angle like that, you're able to get the tip in there and it slides in nicer. So comes with this hose and the net pot, and you're ready to go. You fill it up with your grow media. I use clay pebbles or leca, whatever you want to call it. You could use perlite since it's significantly cheaper, but it's not as eco-friendly. And a quart of perlite, a 2-gallon quart of perlite bag is around $16. I'll show an example of it. And that can fill probably 16 net pots, maybe even more. And clay pebbles, depending on what company you get, I get around 20 pounds for about $80 to $100, and that fills maybe 7 net pots. So that's a big cost difference, but I like clay because it's easy to wash off and reuse. And yeah, I don't know, I find it more eco-friendly than perlite and just easier to work with, where I don't like the perlite dust everywhere. When I'm working with it, I have to wear a mask and stuff. But you could also use these buckets to cracky if you didn't want to use them with an air pump, and just use this as a little water level indicator. Since I have some arugula crackied in a window right now and some gourmet crackied in my tent upstairs, since if you don't want to use air pumps, you can grow with the cracky method where you rely on the water level to go lower in the bucket for the roots to come in contact with air. And this just ensures that they always have oxygen, which can have bigger, better roots, but for certain plants over a longer duration. It may be tough to cracky, so I'm experimenting with some shorter stuff like lettuce, but I have a 3-year-old peach tree, avocado, and lemon that have air pumps because I don't want to cracky something like that over the course of like 3 years. And because there's usually not enough oxygen in the water for the plant's like whole life cycle. So that's why you have to either rely on it going lower in the bucket for the roots to come in contact with air or supply them with air. And I just have better, safe peace of mind supplying them with air. But the cracking method works great, and I'm experimenting with it as well. But again, I don't know how well it would work for a 3-year-long project. If you manage the water level right, it probably would do fine. So the small little pumps come with this little piece that stops water from going back up in the line. So when you put it in the line, water can't go up this way because you don't want water going into your pump if there's a power outage. So let's say the power cut off, air is being shoved down this hose, so there's air in this hose. When the water, or when the pump turns off, water will shoot up this, and it can go in the hose and into your pump and break your pump. So this is just an extra safety measure. I don't use that on my 8 pump systems. I hang them in the air. So if you see by the peach tree behind you, that pump is hung in the air. This way, if there's ever a power outage and water shoots back up the tube, it doesn't go into the pump and break it, and I don't have these little pieces on each pump there. So that's just something to keep in mind when you set up the system, is you want the pump above the water level in case of a power outage. However you want to go about that, whether you want to use a rope or a string, I use a little like ratchet strap, or if you want to use these. These aren't 100% though. They do a great job at stopping water going this way and letting air go that way, but they can fail and let a little water come through, and even a little bit of water can break your pump. So they're a good safety measure, but I wouldn't rely on them like 100% and keep your pump on the ground or something. But if you want a small pump for cheap, they come with everything you need in the kit for these little ones, like the hose and the air stone. If you wanted to drill a hole in a net pot in one bucket, if you wanted to just buy one and build one yourself. But I think 4 bucket system for $100 is a pretty good bang for your buck and saves you a lot of work. Not to mention the fact that you need a drill and the right drill bit. And out of all my sets of drill bits, I don't have like a 3/4 inch, I have a 1/2 inch. And a 1/2 inch isn't gonna work with a 1/2 inch grommet. You're probably gonna need like a 3/4 inch. So I didn't want to go out and buy a drill bit. And that's supposing that you have the drill bit and drills lying around. So in my opinion, it's just simpler to buy a complete system than get part by part and try and piece it all together. And that it just seems more of a headache to me. I don't know if you agree, but not everybody wants 4 or 8 buckets, and you could have some extra lying around, but at the end of the day, I don't know. It's up to you, however you want to do it. Essentially, we just like no light getting in and air getting pumped into the bottom, however you want to do it. And yeah. So I'm going to be setting these up in a new tent, but that's probably going to be in a different video, and we're going to be covering nutrient water, and a bunch of different other stuff in other videos. So you can check out my hydroponic plants playlist if this is on YouTube. If this is on Facebook, I think there's a collage I can put together of all my videos. I'm still working on that. And that will be like the same sort of thing. It'll be a playlist of all my hydroponic plants. But you can subscribe for more, or what YouTube thinks is best for you. I will have a link down below. I affiliate for all these things on Amazon. So any purchases directly help out the channel, and I greatly appreciate it, and you guys have been very supportive. But I made a list of all my hydroponic gear and my lights down below if you want to know. And if you hover over the top of the product, it'll give you a short little description of what I use it for and how I use it, and just like describing it a little more. So yeah, I think that gives a pretty good representation of the buckets and the net pots. And I like the buckets because you can grow a bunch of different types of things in them. Like I have the trees, but I might want to do some more vertical type setups in the future for like lettuces. And yeah, I really appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. They've been really supportive. And I hope this gives an accurate representation of what the buckets are, why you might want to just buy them instead of making them yourself. And yeah, have a great day. Thank you for watching. Bye.